Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first ever virtual executive forum. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Nicole Almond, and I'm the president of Enactus Canada. Enactus is a very unique organization because as every student enters the program, a transformation begins. A transformation into a leader that will be equipped to change the world for the better. Through all that we do at Enactus, it's about helping students make a difference as the leaders they are today, while discovering their potential to achieve an even greater impact as the leaders of tomorrow. And one of the things that makes Enactus so special is the community that we bring together. And despite not being together in person this year, today is no exception. We have students, alumni, academic, and business leaders joining us from across the country. And we thought it would be a shame to miss an opportunity to engage all of you in discussion about something very timely and relevant: adapting to life after COVID-19. So to lead us through the discussion today, I'd like to introduce Rob Patterson, President and CEO, Alterna Savings and Alterna Bank, who also serves as the Vice Chair of the Enactus Canada Board of Directors. Rob, thank you so much for being here today and moderating our panel once again. Over to you.
Great, Nicole, thanks so much. And hey, great to see everyone virtually across the Enactus landscape across Canada. Wish we all could be together, but hey, this is the next best thing. So as Nicole said, we've got some pretty impressive corporate leaders here, and we're going to have a bit of a discussion about the impacts that COVID is having on businesses today, and have a discussion about the innovation, the resilience that organizations are developing and going through. And we'll have time at the end to actually have Q&A directly from yourselves through the Facebook comment section, to allow the panel to give you some of their insights to some of the questions that are on your mind. So with that, let's get into it, and let's introduce you to four incredible leaders that have joined us today to be part of the forum. So first up is Kelly Blackett. Kelly is the Executive Vice President of HR and Communications at CWB Financial Group. Kelly leads development and execution of CWB's culture, people, and communication strategies and practices. With a focus on building CWB's reputation as an employer and bank of choice, her passion is developing, engaging, inclusive, rewarding, and high-performance work cultures and supporting the communities where CWB operates. Gary Wade. Gary is currently the president of Unilever Canada. Since joining Unilever Canada in 1999, Gary has led the organization through several transformative business initiatives while championing diversity and inclusion and elevating employee engagement. Next is Monica Manza. Monica is the leader of KPMG's GTA advisory team, which includes the risk consulting and deal advisory businesses. Having completed her degree at the University of Toronto, Monica joined KPMG in the valuations practice, where she is a partner today. Next is Ian Hanning. As Chief Financial Officer of President's Choice Financial, Ian has overall responsibility for financial planning, financial reporting, and financial controls for PC Financial. He also apparently can get you a pickup time at one or two Loblawses, so good person to know. He is also on the Enactus board and serves along with myself and the other directors. So with that, that is our panel for today's discussion. Some great individuals with some diverse backgrounds that'll help inform us. So let's get right into it and start the discussion. So the first question is going to go to Kelly first, and then to Gary. The big question I think everyone is having is trying to understand what really is changing in businesses. I know Alterna Savings, we've had to transform our branch networks, putting up plexiglass, changed hours, and put in a whole tremendous amount of procedures, taking our call center and making it remote. But what's happened in each of your companies, and how has your environment changed and your organizations changed? So Kelly, let's go to you first.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Rob. And just thrilled to be here, everyone. Wish I was there in person with you, but CWB is a big sponsor of Enactus. We're huge supporters, and as I say, happy to be here. So CWB is a commercial bank. We're in business for business owners. So our primary customers are small to medium-sized business owners and their families. We've got branch operations, we've got a wealth management business, about 2,500 employees, coast to coast, across a branch network, partner companies, and a pretty large corporate head office in Edmonton. To answer your question, what's changed? There isn't much that hasn't changed. Kind of everything has changed, and we're really in, I think now a stabilization period, but boy, were those first 4 weeks or so challenging. We made a decision really early that we would guide everything we did on 2 of our key values at the bank. And the first is people first. A lot of people are talking about that. That was in our values from the beginning. And the other one is our value of relationships get results. And so, we'd had those in our values framework for the last couple of years, and we've really just been leaning into them. So really what we said was our first priority had to be making sure that we would get in place the physical and psychological health and safety measures that we needed to for both our employees and our clients. So what did that mean? It meant over a 3-day period, we pivoted to getting 85% of our workplace or workforce to working from home. So really our only folks that are still in physical work environments are frontline branch employees. Most of our branch employees are actually working virtually because they can do that and continue to serve their commercial clients. We gave an extra 10 paid days for childcare and elder care support. We also came out really early with a commitment to our workforce that we would not do any layoffs or furloughs as a result of COVID. That was really important for us to give the confidence to our employees that they would have something stable, that we would be the company that would give them some stability through this crisis. From a relationship gets results standpoint, I think it's a real privilege that banking is considered an essential service. It did mean that we kept the majority of our branches open, many with reduced hours, but continued to have, to your point, Rob, people in there serving clients. And I would say folks were scared, and so we put just huge efforts into helping them feel safe. Lots of PPE, lots of safety measures, really thinking through how we would do that physical distancing in branches, really being proactive in terms of contacting clients about what the changes were in our hours, enhanced cleaning protocols. We even went so far as to, we figured out how, if we had employees that were taking public transit, how we would help them get to the workplace in different ways if they were uncomfortable doing that. So lots of work there. At the same time, of course, we were really in it for our clients. And we really decided early on that there were 2 things in this situation that was so hard to control that you could control. And one was how you treated your employees, and the second was how you treated your clients. And the 2 are a virtuous circle. And so we came out very early with some CWB-backed loan relief programs, and have since obviously implemented a number of the government programs. And really our message to our teams were just start calling clients, find out how we can help them, find out what they're going through. I mean, as commercial businesses across Canada, this is the most stressful financial event probably most of them have experienced in their lives. And we think we can help them through it. And so we have focused on being very responsive and really trying to differentiate ourselves in terms of getting them relief programs early, and really being a voice of support, reassurance, and help as they think about how to navigate the business challenge that's coming. Lots of work on the regulatory front. So we've been working very closely with OSFI, who is the regulator for charter banks in Canada. And really, our work there is focused on what's our liquidity plans, what's our funding plans, how are we working through regulatory capital management expectations. So we've had a ton of work on that front. We've been very focused on operational risk management. There's lots of new risks in this environment. You've got, processes that overnight we've pivoted to digital. people working from home, which brings up some privacy considerations, lots of new cybersecurity threats in the external environment. So we've been doing a ton of work there just to make sure that we've got all of the practices in place that we need. And then the other piece that we're turning our attention to really early is credit risk management. We know that we're going to have some businesses that we support as their primary lender that will struggle through this period. And so we're really bolstering what we call our strategic asset management unit to make sure that we can be really proactive with them through that period, because we know that from a bottom line perspective, provision for credit losses is a really impactful part of how this will play out for banks in terms of the P&L. So lots of focus there, lots of really great learnings around, how to communicate well, and just the real importance of crisis decision making, which I'm happy to talk about further, but that's where we're at.
No, that's great. I love the empathy for your employees and the engagement with your clients. So that's fantastic. Gary, going from financial services really to packaged goods. So what's really changed in your shop?
Rob, thank you, and also very happy to be here. I've been involved with the Enactus certainly through, and Unilever has for a number of years, so very happy to be talking to everyone. So I would say a lot has changed and a lot has stayed the same. So as I think about what's changed for us, obviously demand, consumer preferences, demand, etc., have changed dramatically. So we have a large food business, we have a personal care business, and we have a home care business. And so massive shifts and changes in consumer buying patterns. Our out-of-home business through restaurants is obviously down significantly. Our in-home business through companies like Loblaws and others is up significantly as people spend more time at home. So we've had to ramp up production, change production, look for other production. We've ramped up obviously soap consumption, and hand sanitizers have gone through the roof. So we've been working 24/7 to try to meet that demand for consumers. So from that perspective, a lot has changed. And then I'd say, and actually similar to Kelly, what hasn't changed for us is Unilever is very much a purpose and values driven organization. So we have really let our purpose and our values guide us through these challenging times. So as a leadership team, very quickly we had got together as we saw this unfolding, and we had already made the decision. And we've got three really guiding principles. First was safety. Number one priority has been the safety of all of our employees. Number two is business continuity. And number three is what we do for communities. So we had actually made the decision a couple of weeks before the Canadian government, both at a federal and provincial level, chose for us to go into shelter from home type restrictions. So we had sent everyone who could, all of our office workers from working from home. And then we really ramped up, as many have, to ensure that all of our factory workers have the highest level of safety. So we moved to tier 4, which is the highest level of safety as prescribed by the World Health Organization very early on in both of our factories, our food factories here in Canada, because safety is really important. And also made sure our retail reps, all of our drivers, everyone in logistics was very safe. So that was really and has been super important for us. Secondly, business continuity. So we are an essential service, and the products that we provide are essential for Canadians. We have a large food portfolio, brands like Hellmann's, Knorr, etc., and our ice cream business, which is actually really, as people are spending more time at home, people are looking for indulgence and some happiness when they are at home. And then we make personal hygiene, brands like Dove, etc., and home hygiene. So we have Seventh Generation and Vim. So we really see a responsibility that we have to make sure that Canadians have those essential products. So, we've been doing everything we can through our supply chain to ensure that the supply chain is strong through this crisis. And then thirdly, and I'll talk about it maybe later if I have the opportunity, giving back to communities, making sure that we can help people in need, the most vulnerable people in society. That's an area we've also really focused on and made as many other organizations have. It's been really encouraging to see business come to the support of Canadians. So really for us, lots of things have changed, but a lot stayed the same. So and our priorities have been safety, business continuity, and giving back to our communities. Thank you.
Carrie, that's great. And I love the themes from both of you. I mean, myself, running a credit union, it's so great to hear the passion you all have for your employees and the safety and the concern, and then the community aspect and your client aspect, right? These are the things people will remember about how we, as leaders lead through this change. And, I'm sure we're going to be getting a lot of requests for Gary's contact information after we heard about, the ice cream and the hand sanitizer and all those products. So you're going to be lighting
Apparently
up.
Ben & Jerry's is very popular at the moment.
Let's go. We're going to go next over to our two other panelists, to Monica first, and then to Ian. There is a lot of innovation that's coming out of this time, and there are actually business opportunities, that are being realized. So, maybe the two of you can talk about your businesses and so what innovation is occurring and what business opportunities are being created. So, Monica, maybe to you first and then to Ian. Monica, you want to unmute? Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Sorry about that. So thanks, Rob, for having me. Really excited to be here and share some thoughts. It's interesting, like we're in this world, this I'll call it a crazy world. And as you talk about opportunity, adversity creates moments of opportunity. And so certainly, at the firm, we have been very focused on finding opportunities and really the silver linings in what we're all going through. In terms of the key areas of opportunity, I would say centerfold has been technology. So the ability to embrace technology, both in the way we work, in the way we service our clients, the ability for the firm to move effectively overnight to an entirely virtual environment, and ability to continue to interface and connect with clients. And today's a prime example of the ability for all of us to facilitate a session such as this and all feel like this is a live event and it goes very smoothly. So that has been critical. It's been critical for our people. It's been critical for our clients. I think the other area is just around what our clients are going through, right? So, and the innovative ways that we're able to help them, whether it be helping them move to a virtual environment, helping them in unprecedented challenges, such as, challenges with supply chain. There's been, engagements relating to how do we quickly get access to PPE, particularly at the earlier onset of this. We very quickly pivoted to, as the funding programs have been coming out, helping our clients understanding what are those programs, eligibility, access to liquidity, refinancings of balance sheets. So, a lot around sort of our clients, as well as they're going through their challenges, and our teams have very quickly pivoted. Now I would say it's sort of return to work, and what does that look like, and the speed at which that can safely happen for our people and our communities. So, it's been really interesting, but it's been moving very quickly. So the need to pivot quickly across the board. I'd say the last area just to highlight is around people. The new way that we are working, it is causing an enhanced strain on sort of mental health. It's been a priority at the firm for many years. It's been an elevated priority, recognizing that, some people, they gravitate to working at home and they're very productive, and others crave that social interaction of the office. So we're really much looking at, we're doing kind of virtual, wellness initiatives, fitness, coloring, meditation, like just trying to be really creative with wrapping our arms around all of our people and making them feel connected, right? Pods and teams and all of those sorts of things. So.
Fantastic. No, and I like your point on mental health. I think that is a challenge we're all dealing with in our businesses and even in our families, right? This is going to affect us in all different ways. And so I think that's great to see you doing it. Willie Crew, you'll know Willie. He's been a long time an active supporter at KPMG. He's retired. He kept saying he was the K in KPMG. We're now proud to meet the M in KPMG with you. So Ian, over to you. What are your thoughts?
Thanks, Rob. Welcome, everybody. It's great to be here. I think this is year 10 or 11 for me, connected with the Enactus organization, and it's a real thrill to continue to be, so heavily engaged. And congratulations to all the teams, of course, for all of their sort of presentations and the huge amount of value that they're creating for Canadians and individuals all over the world in solving some really, really tricky and kind of poignant problems. So great to be here. So to the question, Rob, around realizing new or innovative opportunities. And I think I would say, from a personal perspective, it still feels pretty early since the onset of the crisis to be able to sort of make any kind of declarations about sort of realizing sort of opportunities, but we're absolutely working through opportunities, and we're innovating kind of hard to look for new ways fundamentally that we can kind of interact with our customers and deliver services to them. In some respects, bridging the kind of the gap between Gary's business and Kelly's business, with PC Financial being a part of, Loblaws as a grocery retailer, we've seen that both sides of our businesses are kind of essential sort of services and need to keep going. And I think that, for our colleagues, that's a change that I think many of them never anticipated, and we've had to manage through that. But from the banking perspective, I mean, fundamentally, we're a digital business, and some of our most important channels to communicate with our customers, however, are face-to-face within our stores. So that could be selling an in-store financial service, it could be a telecom product. So we really needed to work fast and think clearly to be able to adjust to what was happening. I think, huge kudos to our teams. The speed at which they were able to come together to generate new ideas has been truly sort of satisfying. I think something that we're really proud of. We found some ways to quickly sort of pivot and pilot different options for customers who may not wish to meet us face-to-face, looking at ways of providing kind of virtual and digital options to people who hadn't used them before. And even in some areas where you could think of a sort of a delivery of a financial service or a telecom kind of service in some sort of close to equivalent curbside pickup, that's been something that we've also been looking at. And then I think most importantly, communication in this type of crisis is clearly critical. I mean, communication is critical all the time, but the ability to communicate quickly and concisely and very clearly to your customers is important. We've seen a huge pickup in the use of our digital communication channels and the power that some of those connections can bring. I'm sure many people have seen and read some of the customer sort of service announcements that we've been able to make through our kind of loyalty application, and the pickup there has been fascinating. And again, it's an opportunity for us to continue to connect with our clients and help them purchase what are now deemed as everyday essentials, through the power of our collective sort of companies.
No, it's great. And look, Ian, I got to tell you, I'm obviously, someone who uses your services at Loblaws. I appreciate the ability to do the Loblaws PC Express pickup. And I do want to point out your company has been pretty amazing in the communication, especially from Galen Jr. And the communication out right from the beginning, how you've protected your workers as well and that. So I think, I know a lot of people in my neighborhood, in my community comment on it. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't commend you guys on the leadership there, because you were that immediate essential service, probably with Gary in the supply chain, behind you, very much. And I think Canadians, greatly appreciate that you guys, together, your companies have both been able to keep us all fed and keep us all well. So congratulations to both your companies on that side. And
appreciate that. Thanks, Rob.
Let's go to the next question. We'll go to Kelly and Ian on this one. And we've talked about how resilient you were in the beginning, kind of where you are today. But when you look towards the end of the year and then even into next year, from a resilient standpoint, what are things that you're going to look to changing, innovating, to make your organizations more resilient and to change to what the future potentially is going to be? Kelly, what about you? Kelly, I think you're just on mute. No problem.
Thanks. How many times when you do your bingo sheet now, right? You're on mute. You can always check that one off on a call.
Yeah.
I had the privilege last week of being on a call with Ed Sims, who's the CEO of WestJet. So if you want to feel better, go on a call with someone from WestJet these days. And he used the analogy of he's a long distance runner. And so he talked about, long distance running as a lead athlete. And he said, you don't beat your competition on the downhills, you beat them on the uphill climbs. And so there is really this perspective, I think, that we're trying to take of how do you find opportunity? How do you find those silver linings out of this and pivot to new realities? So some of our focus there would be, I would say we had flexible work arrangements before, but I think what we are really surprised to the positive how productive and resilient our workforce has been with this shift to working from home and working virtually. And I think it will have quite profound, we're looking at it having quite profound implications for our business model. And I think that's really great. It's really great from a talent management standpoint. It's great from an inclusion and diversity standpoint. I talked with someone last week I had a conversation with them. It's one of our members of our employment equity committee, and they're profoundly deaf. And they actually said the move to this work environment has improved their inclusion because using things like Teams, they've been able to turn on closed captioning, and they've got better tools than they ever had before. And I just thought, wow, I just never would have quite made that connection that this was going to be an improvement on that front. So we're spending a lot of time sort of thinking about how do we harness that? How do we though build, if we're going to move to that model, how do we build the secret sauce of having really intentional connections with people? And the corollary to that is if you go to a more virtual workforce, what does it actually mean for your physical footprints? So we are evaluating that and really thinking about are there changes that we need to make to those physical footprints? Are there things that we need to think about what especially corporate office, the work environment might look like as we do a return to work strategy. So those are some of the things that we're thinking about on flexible work arrangements. Some of you have talked about this idea of decision making and communication. That's really a focus for us as well. It's really interesting when you're forced to do something so quickly and you realize, and you get things done in like 3 days that ordinarily would have taken you 3 months, and you go, wow, how do we harness that? How do we harness that as we move forward from an agility standpoint? And so we're really trying to figure out what that means for our operating routines and how we make decisions and how we innovate, and can we move those things to faster cycles. So we had started to dabble already with sort of agile platform in our IT development shops, but certainly I think we're looking at it in terms of how can we build it in a more widespread way across the organization. Lots of focus on, as I talked about before, risk management, and I would say really the notion of predictive risk management. And so we have been going through creative transformation at the bank in terms of building new risk management models and sort of upping our game to become an advanced ratings bank. And I think that focus is just we're going to double down on that because models are really important for helping us predict the future. And I think, some organizations think of risk management as sort of brakes on the car. We think about it as the instrument panel. And so a real increased focus there. And then just this piece of digitization, right? That was already a big prominent part of our strategy. I would say what we're going to see coming out of this is we will do even more. We will tilt our investment even more into those areas.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's great. And I think everyone's going to be rewriting the Agile books after what we've all gone through. Ian, over to you. What are your thoughts for the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think our thoughts for the future, sort of, not surprisingly, they obviously start with the present. The crisis clearly shown us the importance of our value proposition, the importance that it has for our customers in accessing those sort of everyday essentials that they rely on. So I would say, if anything, there's an added impetus, that was there already, but it's got extra kind of firepower behind it now is to really to ensure that our customers are able to make use of kind of their everyday rewards that we're providing them through our kind of financial services products. The resiliency, I think Kelly's touched on some of this already. You did, Rob, in your opening remarks. The resiliency from a financial services perspective, is initially all around risk management as the instrument panel, but around the strength of your balance sheet and the ability to put yourself in a really strong position from a liquidity perspective. All actions that we've taken. But what we have seen is that, not surprisingly, we've seen a significant impact to our business through lower sales on our card portfolio, and that we've really needed to sort of step up and look after our customers who are going to be in need of financial support, the ability to provide them options to sort of bridge the chasm, if you will, between the kind of the enforced lockdown of the economy and the ability for it to kind of be safely and steadily sort of reopened. So, those linkages that we have between our products, our customers, and our loyalty program, we're just going to continue to push that momentum to invest in those experiences that we can provide our customers, and then the services that we can provide them that are connected to that everyday retail component. I would say the other resilience that we've really found in our business has been our people, and has been our people's kind of willingness, their ability to adapt, and their speed to adapt. They've really shown that we can continue to deliver results while working remotely. Particularly true in the financial services business, where you might have typical kind of customer agent roles performed in an office like setting. So of course we've taken the steps to ensure we keep our kind of colleagues safe and to continue to serve our customers, and we've been able to kind of move those people quickly to kind of working from home to ensure they can still serve our customers and help them if they have this an uncertain financial situation. And I don't think we are we're not ready at all to declare that is a sort of a new normal. We're certainly not a technology company like that can come out with large, grand sort of pronouncements a lot like that. But it's absolutely added an additional sort of strength and a kind of a quiver to our kind of arrows, where we can rely on this adaptability of our workforce in the future, and give greater flexibility to our colleagues as well. And we anticipate that'll be something that will be a part of our business going forward.
Fantastic. Look, the one thing I'll let you touch on is our employees, and this is about the future, it's about today, it's about the past, and I know when I think of our alternative savings employees, it's great pride now. When I'm talking to our board or other colleagues, and I can hear it coming through from each and every one of you, that it's amazing how resilient our employees have all been, right? When you think of everything in all of our organizations and everything everyone's gone through, I don't know, it's kind of one of the things you kind of well up a few times, get very emotional, when you're talking to people, because they've just gone beyond, I think, where any of us ever thought they could go, putting themselves in harm's ways. Most of us, have essential workers in all of our jobs showing up. I know our bankers, coming in every day to take care of our members. Obviously, supply chain, KPMG with all of the audits and taxes going through the year, CWB, your bankers. And, Ian, like, honestly, I know I'm not supposed to, but I always tip, the person I put a $20 bill back where the groceries, they put it in the trunk, because I just honestly want them to, to recognize them and the effort they're doing. So it's amazing to see how Canadians are stepping up, and all our employees are doing that. The next question, really, to go to Monica and Gary on, and Gary touched a bit on this earlier, the desire to talk about, what can we do as leaders with our organizations to help our communities, from a CSR perspective, helping charities. I know with us, we've doubled our donation to Enactus. No pressure to anyone on this panel right now to announce that, just joking. But we're really thinking deeply about it, and how do we do more than we did in the community, help our fellow Canadians, our neighbors, and how do we make sure that we help charities, because we know so many food banks and everything that are having difficulty out there. So, Monica, maybe you first, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, thanks, Rob. I mean, it's a great question, right? And I think when times are great, obviously donations are they come around easier, but I think we really need to think about reimagining what our sponsorships looks like. So, events now are gone. So a lot of the source of how these organizations are generating funds for sustainment and doing some really amazing things in our community, those are no longer. And so really looking at, particularly during this time of COVID, what else can we do? So there is the monetary piece. And I will say, as a firm, we kind of looked at where can we make an impact, and food banks is where we chose to invest $1 million across Canada in local communities, recognizing that organization is going to have a significant uptake in volume just as a result of COVID. The other area is sort of virtual volunteering, and we've been really big on engaging our employees with skills-based volunteering to support our communities, right? Things like mentorship, virtual judging, online education, a whole slew of pro bono engagements to sort of help move things along within the community. I'll give you a couple examples. We had a group of KPMG volunteers that worked on developing effectively a digital solution to provide sort of tracking of food cards for hungry school kids, where historically they were in school, so there was a program available to them. Now when school is out, it's how do we get that to the people that need it. We've also partnered with Access to provide mentorship to refugees and others that have sort of recently landed and now they're here, and what do you do in this type of an environment? I think lastly, what's important is collaboration with partnerships and other organizations to make an impact. CPA Ontario, I think, approached all the big four where we've partnered with them. We're doing the 2019 tax returns pro bono for all frontline health workers. It's things like this that sort of, I think, as much as we're all apart, the community, the country, and globally, like we've really all come together. So I think things like this, where it's not necessarily just dollars and cents, it's time, it's showing that you care, and partnering in that fashion are all things that make a huge impact, and putting our minds to it that way.
Fantastic. Gary?
Yeah, so Unilever, we've always had a point of view that, we talk about a multi-stakeholder model, and, we think about what we can do for society, for communities, for citizens of Canada. And our business is very much driven by purpose. And candidly, from my own personal point of view, I really hope that some of the incredible work that we're seeing by business, by NGOs, by government, not only in Canada, but across the world, to rally behind what we're seeing here, I hope that elevates for all organizations and for all leaders the importance of, particularly for us, because we focus here on business, but the role that we play to be looking after the broader community and looking after the citizens. And, this idea of this multi-stakeholder model, I really hope builds out. For us here in Canada, we've done a number of things. We obviously wanted to make sure, like many others have already mentioned, that we were looking after the underserved. So we very quickly donated $3 million of products to Food Banks Canada to make sure, so there were food, home hygiene and personal hygiene products, as well as masks that we had procured for our factories. We then got extra so we could give that to our frontline healthcare workers. And then, one of the things that I wanted to actually formally acknowledge on this call is the role, and we've all touched on a little bit, but a really big thanks to all of our frontline workers. So what we did is we ran a program, and many of you might have seen it, but this idea of courage is beautiful, really to celebrate. And we use Dove as the brand to run this beautiful tribute to recognize all of our frontline healthcare workers. And we donated $1 million of Dove product, shampoo, conditioner, body wash, etc., to frontline healthcare workers specifically to thank them. But also, I think we should all acknowledge the incredible role, and Robbie, you spoke about it, that all frontline workers have done to continue all of our essential services. So for me, I think it's incredibly important that what maybe might be new for some organizations, certainly not the organizations recognized on this panel, and ones that would support Enactus, but across the board, that we all start to think about the role that we play for the communities and the citizens of this beautiful country.
Yeah, no, look, Gary, I think incredibly well said. And, I think we have a debt to the frontline workers that we'll never be able to repay. And, I was saying to a friend, we have the Order of Canada, and it often gets, presented to, corporate citizens. And I think we have to redefine that program to really recognize the people that are getting us through this. So incredibly well said, and couldn't agree more. Panel, thank you so much. We are going to the Q&A side now. A couple of questions have come in. And I'm just going to, unfortunately, just pick someone every time and see if we can get through, 2 or 3 of them. So I know we're getting into the time. So the first one is, is there a big lesson that you learned from a leadership standpoint through this crisis? So, Monica, how about to you on that one?
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson is just transparency and the power of communication with the team and keeping people in the know. I think we put people as a first priority in terms of the safety of our people, probably closed down certainly the Toronto office earlier than we needed to, but I think it went a long way with keeping our people informed as to why we're making the decisions that we're making. And I think that transparency is really critical, and it builds a lot of goodwill, and then bringing the team together and further growing the trust that you have with the broader employee base.
Fantastic. Ian, what would it be for you? Biggest leadership lesson that you've learned through this?
I guess I think I would add to that. I talked about it a little bit before, but the sort of the adaptability of our kind of like people. We had always encouraged people to, be flexible with their kind of like working arrangements when they needed to be flexible with their working arrangements. But I think that, and I think I probably speak for many organizations where we still always felt that absolutely the most productive time was going to be in the office when everybody was in the office. And I think the leadership lesson that, has been told through this, I would say, is that you really can trust your people far more than perhaps you ever thought you could trust them before, even if you had a very high trust level before. And that is that, all of your people, certainly our experience has been incredibly productive, incredibly focused, incredibly engaged when they're at home. And I think that, there are some generational components in there, I think, with people working in industry where, this is new for some people, but it's completely normal for others. And so I would say that that's been one of the big lessons is, how successful you can be with different operating models.
Fantastic. We've got time for one last question. This is interesting. It came in through many different people in many different ways, but the same intent. I'm going to call it the millennial question. And so the question is, Gary, I'll go to you on this one. Hey, we're hearing about a 4-day work week. So, what are your thoughts on that actually coming about? And maybe from your organization standpoint. So what do you think about a 4-day work week going forward?
Great. It's a great question, and one that's got a number of components. Where I will go is slightly different. I think because in some ways a 4-day work week, if you've read some of the literature, is actually quite a confined model where you are essentially asked, and it works in one of 2 ways. One, you either pay people 80% of what you would have paid and you have a 4-day work week, or you work at very concentrated time, an extended period for 4 days versus the 5 days. I'm going to go where Ian went. What we believe as an organization, and what I personally believe, is the power is actually in flexibility. Because what might work for you, Rob, is very different to what might work for me. I think for me, where organizations should be going, where we certainly thinking, and it's a place that we've been in Unilever for quite some time, is giving people trust, to Ian's point, trusting our employees to do the very best. And giving them the flexibility to find what works for them. And for me, I think that's why people are gravitating towards the idea of 4-day is they see a bit of flexibility, but I actually personally think it's quite a restrictive type model. I personally think a far more broader definition of how and where work gets done is where we should be thinking rather than specifically on 4-day work week.
Yeah, well said. Panel, really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it too. And thanks to all the students for watching. Kelly, Gary, Monica, Ian, really appreciate you taking the time out to spend with the Enactus team. Phenomenal insights. You're all four of you are pretty amazing, ethical entrepreneurial leaders, and really appreciate your ongoing support of Enactus. So thank you so much. And with that, I think I will turn it back over to, who am I turning it back over to? Nicole. There you are, Nicole. I was worried. I didn't see it popping up, Nicole. Over to you.
I was waiting for my name to be called. I've done this a few times the last couple of weeks. I'm getting really good at it. Kind of. So just, I want to reiterate what Rob said. Just a huge thank you to our panelists for joining us. I know one of the most interesting things over the last few weeks for me has been getting to talk to all of our partners about what's happening in their industries and what they're learning from this and what it's looking like to them. So I'm really glad that we could share some of that with our students and everyone watching online. So thank you to the students, academic and business leaders that joined us online today. Really glad we could have this meaningful conversation, even when we're not in person. And next up is the final round of competition, proudly presented by Tim Hortons, starting at 1 p.m. And then the crowning of our 2020 national champion at the award ceremony that will immediately follow. So I will wrap this up and we will see you in the final round in just a few minutes. Have a great day.